Thank you all for being here. It's my great pleasure to be here addressing all of you. I'd like especially to thank Rizio for organizing this and putting the series together, and to thank Mehmood and Danish, whose performance of Dastan-e-Chobali really sparked something in my imagination, and as you will see, inspired this talk in many, many ways. The talk you're going to hear today is about the law, it's about Dastan-Goi, it's a bit about Shakespeare, and it's a lot about queer theory. And I'm not an expert in all these fields, but what's interesting about them is the way in which they come together to shed light on a matter of considerable current political, social, personal importance. So it's interesting for me to witness their confluence rather than necessarily separating the threads out. So my title is We've Always Been Lesbians, the story of Dastan-Goi. On July 3rd, 2009, the Delhi High Court ruled that Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code could no longer be used to criminalize consensual sex between adult men and women. Titled Unnatural Offences, the section that was read down states that, quote, whoever voluntarily has carnal intercourse against the order of nature with any man, woman, or animal shall be punished with imprisonment for life or with imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 10 years and shall also be liable to fine. The marginal explanation clarifies that penetration is sufficient to constitute the carnal intercourse necessary to the offense described in this section. Even as the section technically covers heterosexual non-reproductive sex as well, in practice, it has been used as a tool with which to harass mostly gay men. Though Section 377 has not been invoked to make an actual arrest post-independence, and no one has been sentenced to life imprisonment on its basis, it has nonetheless retained its power to demonize anal sex, and also influence public misperception that anal sex is exclusively a gay male act. Given the phobias to which Section 377 has given voice then, it is especially significant that the Delhi High Court decided to read down its punitive provisions in relation to consensual adult sex. This is a decision to be celebrated, and it was. Newspapers and TV channels ran colorful stories about the victory, and the judgment was reported worldwide. India's judiciary was hailed by the media for striking down this legal relic from the days of the British Raj. The debate over Section 377 was seemingly thus black and white. Those who supported its continuation wanted to criminalize homosexuality, while those who opposed it wanted decriminalization. However, despite such a stark opposition, both parties to the debate sounded disconcertingly similar in a few important ways. For instance, both petitioner and defendant made certain assumptions about homosexuality that are best encapsulated by the language used in the sympathetic High Court judgment. Quote, it has been submitted that the fields of psychiatry and psychology no longer treat homosexuality as a disease and regard sexual orientation to be a deeply held core part of the identities of individuals. The judgment further adds that a section of society has been criminalized and stigmatized to a point where individuals are forced to deny the core of their identity and vital dimensions of their personality, unquote. In a related note, the defendants, in the voice of the Home Ministry, claimed that, quote, proceeding on the assumption that homosexuality is unlawful, it has been submitted in the affidavit that such acts cannot be rendered legitimate only because the person to whose detriment they are committed has given consent to it, unquote. Two things emerge from these remarks from opposite sides of the case. First, that sexuality forms the core of a person, his or her innermost and most truthful part. And second, that same-sex acts are the basis of one's sexual identity. Both these ideas pivot on the question of identity as an unchanging essence. On neither side is there a window for understanding sexual acts that do not conduce to an identity, or sexual desires that do not crystallize into acts, or sexuality as being anything other than that which presumes an alignment among acts desires and identities for life. This is the first problem with framing the case as an opposition, because both sides, petitioner and defendant, actually spoke the same language of acts collapsing into identities, grounding desire into fixity, and regarding sexuality as a core truth of an individual.